What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Acronator here, and welcome to another week of these Overwatch case studies. My bottle of Gatorade. You have to excuse my voice a little bit. Been getting over, or rather just got over, a stomach bug a couple days prior to recording this, but my voice is still a little bit shot. But it's good enough where I can attempt to record this, and I'm bored, so I had nothing else to do. So we're going to get into this match. So this was, let's see, by the time this comes out, this will have been about a week and a half prior that this match happened. This is North American Overwatch Contenders, particularly the match between Malice and Malice Revival, or just Revival for short. Ironically, I do happen to know a few people associated with both of these teams, not like close friends, but I am acquaintances, I would say. One of the managers for Malice, Drowsy, as well as the flex support for Revival, Pascal, were both involved in League Zero during seasons 2 and 3. Actually, Pascal's the MVP for the upper division from League Zero, so a decent amount of interactions with the two of them. Again, not like extremely close personally, but I've interacted with them, so I find it fun to potentially review their game. In particular, this match, if you haven't seen it, so I'll start linking the matches that I review for these in the description below. This match was honestly just beautiful. Like, in particular, for context, this part of Contenders goes to its first two, as you can see up here. At some points in their Contenders bracket, it goes up to first to 3. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen. But this match in particular was just really good. Malice is a rather new team for Contenders. It has, I think, like Foreshadow, Psy, and Angelic have come from Susano. I think like Big Boy and Crowy and Sluggo came from Wisp. I think Crowy came from Kratos, and I don't remember where Big Boy came from. Regardless, a lot of familiar names if you're familiar with North American Contenders. Revival, of course, pretty much the same team. They won the March Contenders bracket, so returning champions. This match was extremely close, and in particular I found this to be like, this map in particular being extremely close and a really good example of how to play the meta brawl correctly. I don't exactly know what this the title of this video and the thumbnail and all that will be, but it's probably going to be something along the lines of like, this is the Rush comp perfected. Generally, I don't like to call it Rush because I consider things like Poke and Rush not necessarily comp types, but more so like actions within a composition. Like this would be more of a Brawl composition. The main 3 styles of compositions that I like to classify as would be like Brawl, Bunker, and Dive. And then you have different actions among those. You can have the Dive itself, which is also an action. You can have the Poke. You can have the the Rush, which is basically what this composition is. Both of these teams really like to play this comp. They were playing it basically the entire series up until this point. Neither of them really wanted to play the Double Bubble or the Wrecking Ball compositions that I covered last Friday. Really just the stereotypical Ryan Diva, McCree May, Lucio Baptiste. And ironically, both of these teams played really well. Like, their defenses in particular were solid, and you'll see that especially as we get closer to second point. So immediately both teams taking a lot of damage. Seeker just got caught out by the Mei wall. Unfortunate, nothing you can do. Actually, that might have been their own Mei wall. One second, let me rewind. I'm going to attempt to not yeah, that was actually their own Mei wall that he got caught out by. And then just a little bit of a boop forced over here, and that was basically it. From there, yeah, I think both of these teams actually give up first point relatively quickly. Yeah, Malice was forced out into a awkward rotation, and then I think they wanted to recontest, but they lost too many people, especially for Shadow getting caught out. Icy getting staggered. He's probably trying to build up to his Diva mech, if I had to guess. Either way, Revival have the card. That was basically like a first take, and I actually want to go back and microanalyze that fight just a little bit more. So you have Revival going on the stereotypical left rotation. Yeah, so he had Seeker rolling out. I think he just got booped by Crawley. Gets forced out that way. You have the rest of Revival just trying to punish everyone over here. Early lamp from Pascal. Trees are in the way. Yeah, early lamp from Pascal. couldn't save Seeker because the lamp's right there. No, wait, that's Lep. Yeah, I think the lamp's right there, and you can't really see the green outline on the ground. But Seeker got booped like way over here. Early lamp from both teams actually, so you could just see the amount of damage coming in. This composition is extremely deadly when there's focus fire. In particular, this composition, especially when the McCree is still alive. Yeah, and then from there, Big Boy just got booped off to the side, similar to how Seeker did. Sai got frozen up, I think. Mostly focused down by Lep, and then Tree got the final blow. Side note, I'm pretty sure Tree's like 13 years old. I remember seeing Seeker tweet something, memeing on him for not knowing some older reference that a 13-year-old wouldn't know. Okay, I think Icy was just poking forward, trying to get his mech back. I'm going to try again not to... Alright, let me skip ahead. I forgot there was a decent amount of a pause. Skip ahead to when it unpauses. So coming into this next fight, which is literally just second fight, you can see the massive time bank that this has for a Revival coming into second point. So looking at the ultimates in particular is really just Sluggo on the side of Malice. Pascal's coming up on his, but obviously Revival didn't take as much damage as Malice, so Sluggo's going to be a little bit up ahead of that. LH Cloudy, obviously, being on the offensive in that case, built up his shatter a hell of a lot faster. But I think the bigger thing to notice here, in terms of what these teams have up on each other, is that Tree is a lot closer to Sai, or a lot closer to Blizzard than Sai. So that's probably going to be what Revival wants to go for. It's been like almost a week since this match played out, so I don't remember exactly what. I do remember the end result and like where the card stopped and everything. I'm not going to say exactly quite yet. This was a bit of an interesting drop. I remember watching it live and thinking there's no way Malice can get away with it, because it is very risky. I'm going to rewind it real quick. You can see they drop beautiful wall from Tree. Actually, I'm going to slow it down a little bit just so I can see exactly where the focus fire came in for Malice, because again, you look at this and you're thinking like there's no way this is going to work, because they all drop relatively split. Okay, yeah, so the early lamp onto Pascal. Okay, Pascal must have... Hold on, where the hell was Pascal? Okay, he's in this little room, and he's getting focused down by Angelic and Crawley. Yep. And basically from there, Revival lost all of their burst heals. Oftentimes, flex supports outside of like a Zenyatta composition are going to be responsible for the burst heals. And especially in the current meta. It's kind of ironic, because oftentimes the flex supports will have more utility than the main support, and the main support just has better ability to peel. Whereas in this case, it's almost kind of the opposite, where like the Lucio has a little bit more utility just because of the speed boost. Granted, the Baptiste has probably equal utility, but more burst heals, and the Lucio is just more consistent heals, because there's no reload on it. And now you get to the point where Malice can just start cycling ultimates, and they really won that fight with just Blizzard. Which isn't too shocking, because Blizzard is a fight-winning ultimate by itself. Another one would be Grav if they had it. That's really the only one in this case, in this entire composition, that can be a fight-winning ultimate by itself. Like Bomb, most people can just LOS Bomb. Shatter can be, but it's not consistent. Like, you usually need to combo it with something else. Have a little bit of, not quite like ego, but a really risky take from Malice here to like literally spawn camp, and they are wasting a decent amount of ultimates. Like you can see, they use B and Bomb and Shatter all in spawn within like a 30-second time span just to keep Revival in their spawn. And mind you, like they kind of needed to do this, because if you look at the time bank, they're just barely under 4 minutes right now, and Revival had like almost 5.5 minutes going into second point, so that's not exactly the best case scenario. Excuse me, Gatorade is one of the only things keeping me alive right now. And even with that, they managed to force out a few ultimates from Revival themselves. They got B and Blizzard out. So that's really good. In that case, they're really getting a huge amount of value out of this, Malice is. And it's an extremely risky defense, mind you. It still is. Like, if I was either, I'd almost expect to see like an attempt at a wall as they're coming out from spawn, just to try and force Cloudy out into an awkward position. Cloudy just resetting. Not really much more you can do there. They got into a bad position. And now you see Malice starting to lose people. Foreshadow had the High Noon. That's probably what they wanted to invest in next. Sai's probably going to get forced out. Yeah, and you have the rest of Malice just kind of like awkwardly backing up. They're getting split. More ultimates are being committed. It's kind of going back and forth, but keep in mind that Revival has a distinct spawn advantage, so unless there's a huge wave of kills in favor of Malice, even if it's going like 1-to-1, Revival are going to get the advantage there, and that's what you can see here basically. Foreshadow's just coming back, but he kind of decides, yeah, maybe not worth it. Angelic, a demeched Crawley, and Foreshadow by themselves can't really deal with the spawn advantage of Revival. Maybe if they lost like one person and Revival lost like 3, then they'd be able to like deal with the respawns, but like at this current point. Right, I forgot Angelic just like played out of his goddamn mind here. And then of course this bridge is where the defense really starts to pick up, usually where it picks up on second point. It's crazy to think that Malice managed to stall for 3 minutes basically inside of Revival's spawn, because that's unusual. That's extremely unusual. That's really not where the fights usually start. They'll usually start over towards the bridge where Crawley was just looking. Where's my mouse? There it is. Like, yeah, usually the fights will start like over here in this first bridge. That means maybe some poke damage over here, but usually the defenders don't even bother to contest until it at least hits that first corner. And Malice took this like hyper aggressive approach, which really plays into the advantages of this brawl composition. And it's something that we really haven't seen. Like, we've seen aggressive stuff, but I don't think we've seen really anything this hyper aggressive. And keep in mind, like, Malice is doing this against the current Contenders champions, like the returning champions. So that's literally insane. Now, of course, they're not really playing that close because they don't want to risk the C9 or anything like that. So losing second point here would be tragic for all the effort they put into it. They've managed to wear down the time bank, but they really want to keep it here on the second point, because this is a very holdable point as opposed to first point, where it's really just a matter of like the time bank. Both beats committed. Tree actually loses their Blizzard, which is honestly tragic. You have a lot of ultimates being committed here. Both teams really just want to gain some ground, and you have Revival starting to find the kills. And granted, the defenders now have a slight spawn advantage, but even so, it's very winnable as long as they can find the kills consistently. And like, looking at this right now, you would say, oh yeah, Revival's definitely going to capture second point, right? You would be surprised. Actually, wait, am I thinking of something else? No, I'm pretty sure it does go. It either stops right here, or it goes into extra rounds and then stops right about here in the second round. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, they hold it here. I'm not crazy. Okay, yeah, we're good. Yeah, so you see, like, somehow, and I want to rewind that just a little bit. I was more focusing on... I'm going to rewind it to the beginning of that. Close enough. So you have Foreshadow coming out, already dies. You lost like 3 people already for Malice. Blizzard comes out from Sai. He's just trying to stall at this point. The Lamp comes out from Sluggo, keeps Sai alive. And keep in mind that Sai actually killed the main support and the main tank, mostly by himself. You have a little bit of help from Angelic and Sluggo, but obviously Sai's going to be the most damage coming out of this, maybe Sluggo being able to contest that a little bit. But otherwise you have a lot of players bleeding out from Revival. Angelic comes back, finds Seeker. Tree comes back, finds Sluggo, but it doesn't really matter. Like, now the spawns are starting to come back for the defense, and like I said, the defense has a slight spawn advantage here. It is very slight because if the offense is quick about it, they can come through the stairs up through the castle. And it's not terrible as opposed to like having to go all the way around. But the defense even then still... Oh, shit. The defense then still has a reasonable advantage. Where was it? Not quite. Right about here. Yep, right there. Okay. So now you're into one fight territory, and keep in mind, Revival came into this second point with like 5 minutes, 20 seconds. So from like this absolutely stellar, like almost perfect defense from Malice, aside from like a few desperate struggles there at the very end, to hold second point. Like, Revival doesn't have that many opportunities to create an opening here. They have Tree's Blizzard, and that's literally their only win condition. Otherwise, they have to win off of neutral play. And then you look at Malice, they have the High Noon. That's not incredible. It's not as fight-winning as Tree's Blizzard. But they also have Sluggo's Amplification Matrix. That's going to be coming up very soon. Like, realistically, 25% for a Baptiste to build up in Brawl meta is nothing. He's going to build that up in like 3 seconds flat. So what that means is that Revival are going to have a really tough time, especially if Sai just walls them off. I don't believe he does. No, actually, Revival go up to the top. Okay, yeah, they take the few extra seconds to come over here because it's going to be a lot harder to wall them off and funnel them. A little bit of a risky play. Yeah, there you can see the wall came out, but you had almost everyone come over. It doesn't really matter. There's actually a really nice boop from Angelic there that I'm going to rewind in a second. But you see the Blizzard actually does come out, but by this point you've lost both of your tanks. And the rule of thumb for Overwatch is generally, if you lose both of any role, doesn't matter if it's tank support or DPS, you're going to lose the fight. Like, if you lose like your main tank and like your flex support, it might still be turnable if you're finding kills in turn. But if you lose like both tanks and that's it, like nothing else has happened, the kill feed is inactive other than that, you're going to lose. Because you lack two of... how to describe it? You lack two players that fill an absolutely fundamental role. In this case, the main tank is there to make space to allow everyone else to function, and the off tank is there to protect everyone. Protect the main tank, peel for the supports if needed, peel for the DPS if they get in over their heads. And now you literally have no protection. Right? So you have the DPS trying to find kills, flex DPS trying to get something out of their utility, in this case freezes, and Maywalls to force displacement and block LOS from the enemy healers, the enemy DPS, finding angles, and then the support's just trying to keep everyone alive. But that's a lot harder when no one has any more space and almost no peel. Like, the only peel they're going to have is Lep. And a Lucio versus these 6 people is not going to do very well in that case. Let it play out. You know, Big Boy actually doesn't die immediately. The damage eventually does come in once Sluggo's lamp is dead. For Shadow actually gets taken out, and you have a decent amount of stall, but like, there's only so much you can do, right? So that's kind of expected. And that was quite frankly just like a beautiful defense from Malice. Like, going into that point, you would never expect that to be the outcome. Alright, yeah, there you go. Actually, they highlighted it on the broadcast themselves, so that's very nice of them. Yeah, you can see that beautiful boop from Angelic, who again played out of his goddamn mind this entire series and almost like won it for Malice multiple times. But wasn't quite enough in the end. Spoiler alert, I guess, that Revival do win it. But it's like, honestly, almost as much of a nail-biting defense. You know, so you had that just like complete burst damage going into Cloudy, and then the focus fire might have been there, but it still would have been possible to potentially keep Icy up and alive and healthy. But instead they didn't even need to worry about that, because Angelic got this beautiful boof mid rocket boosters. Actually not even like mid, like towards the end, so Icy didn't have enough boosters left to get him up and over the ledge that he was then booped over. So it creates this beautiful scenario where both tanks are out of the fight almost instantaneously. And Malice basically win the fight. Otherwise, there was a decent chance that with Blizzard, if one of Revival's tanks could have stayed alive, they possibly could have taken second point. The Blizzard, again, was a bigger fight-winning ultimate than the High Noon, than the Baptiste Matrix. Actually, I don't even know if Sluggo got a chance to use his Matrix. I didn't check, because it really wasn't that influential in the first place. Already you have the McCree going down on this defense. Again, both of these teams are honestly really good on their first point offense, and then the defense is really good on second point for both of these teams. Seeker already respawning, so Revival at this point really just trying to play for stall, because the longer they can stall, the longer they can stay alive, the better chance Seeker has to get back into the fight and actually help turn it. But Cloudy's already getting low, the lamp is already used up. Yeah, Cloudy's basically dead from here. So now it doesn't matter if Seeker gets back because you don't have a main tank. Angelic getting booped off is huge though. Main tank for a main support is about 1-1. Seeker should be getting back. Actually, he is back. Not for long. But losing the Mei for Sai is probably the fight for Malice. Yeah. Baby Diva fight. Although it was a little bit of extra damage from, I think, Big Boy. Yeah, Big Boy. No, actually, Revival hold it. I think Angelic gets out. Yeah, he does. So at the very least, Revival didn't give it up on their defense. Give first point up on their first defense on the very first fight. But at the same time, the ult economy. Let's see, both matrices were used. It doesn't look like Angelic built very much up to their beat. And Big Boy's a lot closer to their Shatter, but that makes sense because they're on the offense. Seeker obviously being out of the fight is about 30% below for Shadow. It's totally fine. Otherwise, Tree, kind of unsurprisingly as well on the defense as a Mei, going to have a little bit of a higher ult percentage. Nice Shatter attempt, honestly, but Cloudy had a really good block. That's basically the end of that fight. You're now 2 minutes in. Not panic mode, for sure, for Malice. But considering they won that with basically just Blizzard, and Pascal's going to have his Matrix in like 2 seconds, you're basically running into this with, what's that, 3, maybe 4 ultimates if you count Sluggo. You know, Angelic's beat's not necessarily going to build up that fast. It's rather slow building ultimate. And Angelic's primary use right now is going to be mostly speed. I actually do find Tree. Fortunately, he already had used Blizzard, but still a really good pick-off because the utility is no longer there. For the flex support, he is not necessarily there for the kills. As a Mei, he's mostly just there for the utility he can provide. And that's pretty much first point. Like, Revival's probably not going to be able to recontest this. The spawn advantage is very much in favor of Malice. But, 2 minutes less, maybe 140 less, I think it was. They had 520. Revival did coming into this, but 3.5 minutes is still pretty decent considering how far they had to push it. Very possible. The one challenge being that they don't have very many ultimates aside from the beat. Granted, Revival used literally everything to try and stop that. So, again, very aggressive defensive hold. Before this match, I had almost never seen Contenders or Overwatch League pros jump down here on Brawl and take this fight right here. This is so abnormal, but it's also so brilliant because if you're that high of a level in the path to pro, where these guys are literally at the professional / semi-pro level, you can trust that your team's gonna have enough focus fire to focus down whoever, right? Sai's just about to die. I don't know if he has ice block. He does. Okay. Beat has to come out to save them regardless. And Cloudy does die for it, and that's basically a free shatter at that point for Big Boy. Then Revival has to back up. Pascal just can't get out. He has to expect to die. Tried to stall out a little bit. Same with Icy. But Revival will definitely be back. It doesn't matter if Malice even had 3 people on point. They're just not going to be able to push it that quickly that they won the map. So Revival has plenty of time to come back into this, especially with a lot of ultimates coming up on their side. Whereas Malice used the Blizzard, they used the Beat, they used the Shatter last fight, so they're really only going to have the Matrix and the High Noon. Revival drops down, actually switches sides with them. Beautiful Shatter, but you can see this is more stereotypical for what you'd expect for a second point hold. This is where the first real engagement usually happens, and oftentimes even in Owl, this is pretty standard for where teams will drop down. So I'm going to be very interested to see. Granted, this kind of brawl is slowly becoming not the only thing in the meta, but if teams continue to play this in the Overwatch League on this map, I'm going to be very interested to see if they try to take that early fight as well as this fight, because you can see that both Revival and Malice had the opportunity to take these fights, although I think Malice didn't take this fight. They just kind of waited at the end of the bridge, but they could have. They had enough time to regroup. Beautiful shatter from Cloudy. I believe they pretty much cleaned it up. It's a little bit sloppy. I think they might even lose Seeker again. No, I guess not. No, never mind. Seeker cleans up, actually. Yeah, that's about it. I'll remember this until it gets out. I don't know how the hell he did this, but unfortunate. That's such a tough shot to hit. You know, people could be like, oh, why couldn't you just hit that shot? That's such a tough shot to hit. You know, if you want proof of how good Seeker is on the hit scan, you can go back and watch the March Grand Finals for Revival. I think it was versus American Tornado, but it could have been versus another team. It went to like map 7 or some shit. It was like ridiculously good series, and Seeker really popped off towards the last couple of maps. You know, so you don't have to be like, oh my god, he's so bad he couldn't hit that. No, that's just insane. To attempt to hit. Nice attempt from Lep to Boop. Actually, no, the bomb was from Croy. I don't know. Guess he's just trying to get them to get away. Okay. So the crazy part is, of course, I already spoiled the results. That's not really the point of this video. It's more to analyze what's happening, and just, in this case, how beautiful this brawl play is. So, of course, I already spoiled the results that Revival do win, but you can see how close the card is getting. And the card basically is like within a meter of... It stops and it ultimately ends right about a meter away from the end result. So for basically 2 more fights, you're going to see Revival pulling off like the defense of their lifetimes. Really, really interesting wall there from Sai. And I think this might... I'm not going to blame it purely on him, because it's not just on him. But I'd be interested to know why he placed it like horizontally, like perpendicular to the opening of the doorway, as opposed to just parallel with it, so that literally no one can get out. Because the way he placed it, it forced Tree like up into the ceiling, and then the game forces him down to the side where he can just walk out. You can see, I think that's Cloudy stuck to the sides, like he's like not fully inside, but he is like inside the little mini room in between the inside of the castle and the outside. Of course he can't move because it's not big enough for him to get through with Reinhardt, but it did allow Tree to get in, and that's rather crucial because he is a big factor into stalling. He doesn't have Blizzard, but he can have a huge stall factor with his ice block. He does have a really nice Mei wall there, so they can't force onto it. I believe he's not stalling right now. Beautiful shatter from Big Boy. They collapse in, get Pascal and Seeker, who are going on the flank just to get out there. Cloudy looks for a shatter. I don't think he gets anything, but Lep finding Sluggo is a really nice start to that fight, because like I said before, when Pascal died at some point, is that the Sluggo in this case, the Baptiste, is going to be a primary source of healing, at least burst healing. And then Cloudy finding Big Boy. Cloudy dying, but that doesn't really matter, because again, the defense is going to have the spawn advantage as long as they can keep it 1-1, at the very least, if not, better in their case, where Seeker can find 2 kills. That's already a massive amount of value. And they're going to be able to get back. You can see the car was basically like 2 meters away, I think, just about. So that was like really life or death. They really needed to win that fight. And this is coming up into the final fight. So coming into this final fight, like, look at the resources that both of these teams have, right? So Malice is going to have the High Noon. They're going to have the Blizzard, which again is a fight-winning ultimate. You're going to have the Bomb, which is going to allow for a little bit of stall. I'm not sure how Crowley would otherwise be able to utilize that. And in terms of Revival, they already have the High Noon. Grants Foreshadow's 99, so he basically has it already. He's going to get it passively by the time he gets to the cart. Tree is a little ways off of his Blizzard, and there's not necessarily a guarantee that he's going to get it and be able to use it, considering that Sai is so much ahead of him. So that really depends on which of these two can poke out better, but Sai is looking a lot better in that case. Neither tank ultimate, and they're going to have beat. So in this case, probably Malice is better off. Sluggo's probably going to have his Matrix mid-fight, Pascal just about the same. But either way, it's really good that Lep is very close to his beats, because that's probably going to be the only way that they're going to survive through this. And that's just looking at it without, taking into context that I've already seen this game. I watched it live. So you have a little bit of poke coming into the doorway. They wanted to make sure that they weren't going to get Maywalled. Karai goes for the touch. That's fine. Still 8 seconds left, so it's not going to trigger overtime right now. He needs to stay onto the card. Early High Noon from Foreshadow. They really just want to make sure, actually from both McCree's. I think both get eaten up, but that kill onto Foreshadow and the subsequent, almost immediate kill onto Sai. Like I said before, when in the final fight for Revival on their attack, when they lost both their tanks. If you lose both members of a particular role, in this case the DPS, who's going to deal the damage on Malice now? The answer is no one. Like, Big Boy's going to have a little bit of damage, sure. Sluggo might have a tiny bit of damage, but it is nothing compared to Seeker, compared to the extra damage that Tree's going to, like, in this composition. And the McCree does, like, 75% of the damage. The Mei's going to do, like, 15% of that damage, right? On top of that. So that leaves, like, 5% extra damage for, like, these. Maybe the Reinhardt in close quarters will be able to get, like, 20% of the team's damage or something stupid like that. The Baptiste might get a decent amount of damage, depending on the composition. If you're running like the Rhine Sigma, maybe a little bit less for the Baptiste. But either way, like, Malice has 0 DPS anymore. And they have like 5% of their total damage remaining. Like, they can't secure kills anymore. And then immediately losing both their flex support and their main tank, and that's basically it. Like, that was beautiful play from Revival. Very risky from Seeker to roll in, but at the same time, you had Icy defense matrixing his role. I don't think it was on purpose. Like, if I go back, here we go. Yeah, because you can see Icy right here. Icy was just trying to defense matrix and take out Foreshadow, but as a result, the defense matrix allowed Seeker to roll in, take 0 damage, flashbang, and then fan the hammer. Foreshadow's immediately gone. Again, that's like 80% of the damage for Malice now gone. Sai was over there. I don't think he had Ice Block. Regardless, he got killed even if he had it and just couldn't use it. Obviously, he didn't use it. And keep in mind, he was like very close to that blizzard. Tree built it up mostly because he didn't die. That's going to be the main thing. Sluggo actually did get the amplification matrix, but he died like almost immediately after using it. And again, that was just absolutely beautiful offense and defense. Offense on first point and defense on second point for both teams. Like, it's very rare that you see that hold on second point, especially considering that Revival had like 5 minutes, 20 seconds. Malice had a little bit less time going into second point. But either way, it was absolutely beautiful defense, and I found that play in particular really interesting, especially when they were dropping down and taking that first really early engagement into second point, like right after the gate opens up. I've almost never seen that in like professional play. I've seen it in like community play, but that's usually because they can get away with it as opposed to in professional play, where the few times I've seen it, generally the team dropping down on the defense just gets completely focused down because it's very difficult to coordinate all the people jumping off all at once. And it's very easy, especially if like the Reinhardt or the main tank in that case, or maybe if there's like a Sigma, if like Cloudy or Big Boy had Shatter on the offense, there's a decent chance that they could have just shattered as the defense was dropping down. Actually, thinking back to the San Francisco Shock versus Atlanta Rain match, I believe it was, where 3 people got booped off of the high ground from the Atlanta Rain by FD God on King's Row second point, and then Super just shattered them as they landed. It's a similar concept to that. What I'm thinking of is like, it's very risky to drop down like that. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this analysis of honestly really high level Overwatch. Like, both of these teams played really well, and it was just like very minor mistakes or even just really good plays that ended up leaving the second point defenses in particular where they were. So if you enjoyed this analysis, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe. In particular, I will be trying to post towards like the end of every weekend, like Saturday, Sunday, something on Twitter, asking for suggestions of like matches from the previous week or previous 2 weeks even, because this match is a little bit older, just because I record these episodes and usually like between Saturday and Monday. If you have any suggestions about matches you want to see played, I generally try to take those into account more so than unless I see something that like really deserves a case study. In this case, these were just 2 matches that I really thought were good. The one on Friday as well. So anyways, that's all I've got. I've got another episode on Friday. That one will actually be for the Overwatch League if you don't really care so much about the Contenders, although you should care about Contenders because it's honestly really fun to watch anyways. So until Friday, don't die.